I thought in today's meeting, we should have broken it a little further. Like Ruth, when you say expenditure management, for this forum, it's good to say what that literally means. Because we are in an economy where businesses have shut down, we're in an economy where people have stopped going to school, we're in a place where the situation is dire. I feel that in the panelists, if we can go a little further and really speak through the actual situations, and even in the analysis and the report, what are the implications of the policy reforms that are performing or not performing, so that then it informs the citizen what is the actual situation on the midterm diagnostics. Thank you.
So good morning, panelists. Thank you very much for that very informative session. My name is Mudani Gashie. I work at the Kenya School of Government. Listening to this, it's very, let me say, depressing. I'm a lawyer, and bottom line, it's an issue of lack of coherence to constitutionalism. And looking back, 15 years since we enacted a constitution, the idea behind this constitution was to ensure that those in leadership are able to be good stewards of our financial management. And all these policies we are talking about are already in our books. And the question I have is, how do we make constitutionalism work? That beyond whoever is the leader, that we can ensure that this is done. And leadership does not become an avenue for self-greed, self-whatever, because this seems to be the issue. And that's why we enacted this constitution. And so I'm just wondering, how do we make this work? Because it needs to work. Today, there are thousands of families who cannot feed themselves. Today, there are thousands of families, children are not able to go to school. Today, families are going bankrupt because they are trying to get their loved ones to hospitals. Yet, we have leaders as stewards. And I'm left wondering, how do we make stewardship be implemented? It's not an if or when, it is supposed to be done. So I probably think none of us can answer that, but I think we need to go through this, because this is the issue. It is not all these policies, it is the issue of non-compliance to a constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one, 30 seconds.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony, and I work in the banking industry from UBA. So I think mine is very simple. Let me make it simple, but it's a bit complicated. So the first one is, it's normal for any household. As I grow my budget, I will definitely grow my expenses. When my expenses this year were 20, next year I want my expenses to be 30 or 40 or 50. I know Mheshimiwa is here. Which reforms are there in Parliament that make us look at the expenditure side? Because you see, we have a norm whereby every year the budget is going up. We're talking about revenue reduction. But I can't see any reform that is set up to talk about expenditure reduction. I think that's the biggest problem. The second question I'd like to ask is, who said we must have a finance bill every year? No, it's nowhere in the Constitution. Let me be honest. Who said tax has to be changed every year? You know, those are the questions that I'd like to be answered.
Thank you very much. The final one. Hi. Please stand. Good morning. My name is Charlene Mungomula, boot camper at the Institute of Public Finance, and a very passionate young Kenyan, may I add. I can't help to wonder, is it about time that as a nation we come to the conclusion that perhaps the devolution of power isn't necessarily meeting our expectations and rather becoming an economic hindrance? According to the data that Daniel gave us, he said that our devolved units are majorly reliant on the government for 90% of their budgets, which translates into recurrent expenditure. So does that mean that now we can sit down and say that perhaps if we reduce the devolved units in our country, that will translate into us no longer missing our revenue targets, and as well as bettering the service delivery in our country and also creating a larger growth margins in our economy? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Charlene. I think because of time, we'll take those ones. My panelists, kindly respond to the question you're comfortable with. We'll start with Ruth, and while at it, also give your closing remarks, your parting shot. In 1 minute, kindly.
Thank you very much, Veronica. You know, one of the essence and the main reason why we have these sessions is to create that demand for these conversations. And I'm really happy listening at the questions that are coming in saying that this is not enough. We need to deepen this, widen this, and probably make it even more frequently and more visible and, you know, more useful in the conversation. So maybe I'll speak into the part on expenditure management, and I'll give 2 examples on what we can do in terms of expenditure management. Number 1, prioritization. Let us look at our spending. It is okay for us to spend on everything that we need, on schools, on renovations, on ICT and everything. But are they all a priority? Our colleague and friend today from the banking industry has mentioned that even in your households, you work with a budget. And in our households, we prioritize. You will put food on the table, pay rent, pay school fees, before you think about extra clothes. You will reduce on certain items because other things take priority. Is it possible for us to do that as a government, as a country? Yes, it is. Secondly, wasteful spending. And when I say wasteful spending, it's not just wasteful in terms of things that are not necessary, but even items that are necessary but are not working. Let me explain what I mean. If you have a moment after this event, go to the IPF website, look for an analysis called the Annual National Shadow Budget. In the shadow budget, we analyze government budgets, past performance, as well as analyze or critique the credibility of the projections for the coming year. One of the things that we have raised consistently is that in our budget spending, we execute our budgets as allocated. The monies are allocated and spent very well, or at least spent to almost 100%. But the non-financial indicators, the targets that were set alongside those resources are not met. If you're given money today to educate 1,000 children, and you spend 99% of that money, but you only educate 600 children, where did the resources that was meant for the other 400, where were they spent on? Can they be sent back to the kitty? Or can there be a proper explanation as to why these resources were not used? Those are some of the issues that we hope progressively Parliament will pick up so that we are able to interact, and we have institutions that give us this information. We have the publications by IPF. We have the Controller of Budget that publishes budget expenditure reports. We have the Auditor General who gives the analysis of what is happening with our resources. One of the key issues before Parliament to pick this up and institutionalize these discussions so that before new budgets are allocated, before new resources are allocated, then we are able to look at past expenditure and use that to make informed decisions. Thank you.
All right. If you'll allow me, I heard about devolution and finance bill every year. Let me respond to those two. Now, do we really need a finance bill every year that does all those amendments to the rates and what have you? It has come at the right time, this question, because currently I'm working on a paper on really, is it working? These continuous amendments, yearly amendments. And I've not finalized it, but you can see when you look at the data you have, really there's no much we gain from it, to be quite honest. And Mheshimiwa will bear me witness in this. So it is not about the finance bill. It is not about the erratic amendment of those rates and what have you. It is how are we implementing that particular document. We might have a finance bill, probably for me, and one of my recommendations would be, let's have a tax policy that tells us in the next 5 years, this is what we should be having. You know, once we have that, then how do we now pull in everyone into the tax bases so that, you know, the landlords here, they are paying the tax and not of it. So it is more of enforcement now rather than every year coming up with a finance bill. For me, I think that would be the way to go. Let's have a tax policy. Let's look at how are we implementing it, the enforcement part of it. We've talked about devolution and economic hindrance. I was privileged to be the pioneers who started the county governments. And I'll be very frank on this platform that Kenya was never ready for 47 county governments, unfortunately. Let's just be honest. And just look at it, you know, I've been there, we've had economic regional blocks. Why are we having such discussions? Because we're trying to pull in or rope in economies of scale as counties. What does that tell us? Did we have a problem with the 8 provinces we had? We should have done 14. They would work better because now you're pulling in the resources you have and doing one thing. Say a county right now is struggling with one project that if it pulls resources with the 2 other of its neighbors, they would do a mega project and it will benefit all those people. But you see now we're subdividing and subdividing. So for me, I think I am sort of in agreement with you, 47. I think we need to start asking ourselves this question. Do we really need 47? And to be quite honest, the answer is no. Let's talk of 14. Closing remarks. I think IPF, I need to give you credit for this. These platforms, I look at this fora and platform as incubancy to policy. And I'm glad we have even Mheshimiwa here. So let's have these gatherings, let's have these sittings, and IPF and other think tanks. This is what we need. Let us, because from here we'll be shaping policy in this country. From here we'll be shaping how we want governance to be done or conducted in this country. So my gratitude to IPF for this particular sitting, and we hope there'll be more, whereby we'll be challenging policy and recommending policy. Thank you.
Dr. Mia, in 1 minute, I know I'm a bit unfair to you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, my colleagues have done justice to some of the comments that I would have made. But let me jump straight to what Modoni you said about constitutionalism, and we are failing to reap the fruits of constitutionalism, and this constitutionalism not working. And so I had some stint in the National Economic and Social Council. Right, yeah. So in my past life, I was the CEO of the National Economic and Social Council, which was responsible for coordinating the formulation of Vision 2030. And that was in the year of our Lord 2008 when it was launched. And one of the things that was very, very clear to us was that in addition to constitutionalism and the laws that support the constitution, including regulations and whatever government issues, you need to address something called national values. And that informed Article 10 of the Constitution, where we talked about national values and principles of governance. That also informed Article 132. So my brothers and sisters, I want to persuade us that one of the things that we haven't done good justice is to progress that national values and principles of governance. I know we have set up institutions which have the mandate of promoting the national values and principles of governance, but I would submit here if IPF can also look at a way of monitoring and evaluating to what extent we have implemented Article 10 and Article 132. That can provide a basis of us making sure that the things that government says it's going to do are done. Because behavior has a lot to do with your values. I can talk a lot. But let me just say the last thing about Anthony and the expenditure and the issues that are surrounding it. I think there's a lot that we can talk about how government should and can ensure that it controls public expenditure. I had touched on it earlier on, and I would also say another session with IPF, we can actually just zero in on this, because this to me is a big thing. You know, making sure that you've got value for money for government projects, you've got value for money for government procurement of goods, services, and common user items. Just make sure that you don't have parallel and duplicate projects that are being implemented. There's a lot that we can do to manage government expenditure. But there is the question of all the interested parties who are on the table when we are doing this government budgeting. Just to make sure that we rein them in and we say, this is the cap. I mean, you can't go above this. It is possible, some countries have done it. I mean, and we are not lesser mortals. We can do it. I want to thank IPF for inviting me to make this comment. I could have spoken a lot, but there's always another time. Thank you, and God bless us all.
All right, thank you very much. And I think I do not have anything else to add. But as Daniel said, the intention is there. The gap remains in implementation. That has been our time. I had 45 minutes, and I can't believe we already over time by 7 minutes. Apologies for that. Let's appreciate my panelists. Thank you very much. I hand it back to Ruth.
Well, thank you very much to our panelists. They have compensated while the mic was failing me. I hope you have enjoyed the chat. I want to take this opportunity now to invite our CEO, James Moragori at the Institute of Public Finance, to just say a word and then invite the keynote speaker of the day. Excellent. Right. So are you all set? So James, you have a raised platform. Hoping that you punch higher as you invite the keynote speaker.
Thank you very much, everyone, and good morning. I have a very simple task. First of all, to say thank you to my team at IPF and to thank our panelists for such an engaging conversations. But I have, as part of this summary, based on what we've had, okay, the media is telling me, are we good?